Now, I think we all know this image or some version of it. The gentle donkey, the clean straw, the beautiful manger. This is such a welcoming and warm and comfortable image. This might be one of the most safe and inviting images in all of Christianity. Except we're missing one of the most urgent and dangerous and real messages of Christmas, that this image is in fact one of state-sanctioned displacement and systemic poverty. Now, I know that you're going to jump straight into the comments with something about the Greek, and we're going to take care of that in just a minute. Those of you who don't know Greek, don't worry, we'll walk you through it. So we're going to take a look at this idea that there was no room in the inn. The inn itself is the complicated bit, and I'm sure you've heard a few carols that use that phrase. Some translations of the Bible talk about the inn. That word, kataluma, can be translated a few different ways, and one of the most common modern understandings is guest room. Rather than some sort of commercial inn, it's a guest room, a place where friends and family might stay. And that's where there was no room. So if you're going to argue that, I'm going to come back and ask you, and so what? Even if it's not some grumpy innkeeper saying, I don't have any room, but I'll stick you in this stable in the back. Even the modern understanding says Mary and Joseph arrived at their family home or some place where relatives stayed, and even still there was no room for them, and they got stuck sleeping with the animals. But why did they even go there? What was it that encouraged them to leave their home and wind up in Bethlehem? It was state-sponsored taxation and census. It was the empire saying, we're not thinking that we are extracting quite enough resources from all of you poor people. We're going to make you leave your home at your expense to go to a different place so that we can count you up and tax you better. This is still the story of a young, pregnant, unwed woman traveling during her pregnancy. This is still a story of two people showing up in a place where they were supposed to be and finding no room. It's still a story of empire creating control and difficulty for its own needs to be met without ever considering the needs of the people within it. And I think even this argument about kataluma helps us see what we do so naturally. We fight over the little details with our actuallys and our arguments over this and that so that we don't have to address or face the harder truths. As we're discussing architecture, whether it's a stable as we're discussing architecture and trying to debate a commercial inn versus a guest house, we completely gloss over or intentionally miss that this is a story of oppression and poverty. And that housing crisis is not something just 2,000 years ago manufactured by empire. I'm certain that you have seen the news around you. I'm in Canada, but across the world, housing is in a crisis. People who need houses can't find them, and yet places sit empty. People with absurd wealth have many, many places that they could live when they can only live in one at a time. And so many people are left living in their cars or on the street, in encampments, whatever that looks like. We are in that same crisis today. And when we look at this beautiful nativity scene and think, oh, that's so sweet, the baby Jesus born in a manger, we don't realize or notice that that's God placing a flag in the middle of our struggling economies and saying, yeah, well, Jesus would be born here too, not in a comfortable hospital, not in a wealthy space with all of the medical equipment available. He'd be born in an encampment. He'd be born under a bridge and a pile of old clothes stolen from the Goodwill. He'd be born in the messiest and most complicated, not just physical mess, but socioeconomic mess. That's what this nativity is meant to tell us. Yet we have somehow turned it into little children dressed up as angels and shepherds wearing tea towels on their heads. We have taken the fangs and the teeth out of a story that was meant to upset us, because we don't want to be upset. Advent is definitely a time for waiting and a time for hope and a time for joy and a time for peace. But friends, it is a time for grief and it is a time for horror. It is a time for looking at all the difficulties in this world and saying, thank God that God still chooses to show up in the midst of it for us and with us. This is that Advent season starting only a few weeks from now. Jump in instead of seeing it as something beautiful and curated and perfect, like perhaps Instagram or your Reels feed would like you to see. See it as being God showing up even in the messiest and most complicated of places. If you've read any of the Bible, you realize that there's no perfection there. The humans are all messed up and complicated. Some of them are broken and doing their best. Some of them are downright evil. And in the middle of that, God shows up. So if you're feeling like maybe there's too much grief in your life to even do Christmas this year, that's okay. God's there for you as well. If you feel like somehow you don't have your house in order, is not clean enough or tidy enough, or you don't have the list prepared enough, that's okay. God's going to show up in your Advent as well. If you think that you've got a heck of a lot of work to do before the baby Jesus can be born, just step away from all of that. That's what society is telling you. That's what you've been trained to think. That's all of these structures of empire leading you further and further away from the story of that first nativity. Unwed parents, far from home, terrified, with no place to sleep. And yet, Jesus was born in the middle of them, in the middle of that complication, in the middle of the mess, in a manger, no matter what we want to call it in Greek. If you are feeling like you need a little bit of help this year to get through an Advent that does not feel the least bit joyful or hopeful or full of peace, I invite you to join me for an Advent series. Starting December 1st, we are going to do 3-minute reels from now until Christmas Day. And we're going to peel back all the socioeconomical norms that you're fighting that keep you stressed and held down. And along with that goes my Advent devotional, No Room at the Inn, an Advent call to justice. And this is entirely free. If you would just like to download it, you can click the link here or you can find it in the notes below. We're using a pay what you can model. If you'd like to pay, please do. If you just want to follow along so that your Advent journey this year fits you a little bit better, please go ahead and do so. This is my Advent gift to you. Join in this journey with people around the world who are also feeling like maybe Advent was meant to be messy. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Greg Simpson. I'm a minister in the United Church of Canada, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.